the volume.
Turn up the volume.
You've arrived at the destination for all things Kentucky. This is the Bleed Blue Network Podcast.
Think we're live? I believe so. Oh, I just got the notification. All right, we're live. What's up, Bleed Blue Nation? This is Jaden. Eventually, I'm going to be joined by... As I'm listening to myself, sorry. Didn't mean to do that. We're going to be joined by Joe here in a second. We're having a couple technical difficulties trying to get him connected. And then Paul is going to join us here in a little bit to talk all things from Kentucky basketball. Exhibition last night against Minnesota State. Mankato, I think, is where I figured out I'm going to land at. I want to know, make sure everyone types in chat. My Twitter is Basham, Basham 39. If you want to type in some of your thoughts and maybe some questions you have about the game, get some of mine, and eventually Paul and Joe's opinions. But yeah, starting off, I kind of just wanted to break down the game, talk about some of the things that we saw from Kentucky last night. Obviously got off to a bit of a slow start. Sorry, I'm trying to pull up the exact box score here. Obviously got off to a slow start. Struggled to shoot from three. I think started 2 for 12 from three. The kinds of things that we didn't see in the first exhibition game against Kentucky Wesleyan. They tried to get the ball inside a little bit more, and eventually throughout the game they ended up starting to get to the paint a little bit more. I think they were 23-32 from inside the three-point line. Kind of a ridiculous number, but it's the kind of pressure that a team that can shoot so well, a team that shoots 50% from three in the first game, you have to respect the three. It seemed like Minnesota State was trying to do that more, stay out on our guys here. As we talked about all offseason, the three-point shooting puts pressure on a lot of teams. It's a whole lot harder to defend when you have some of the spacing. I mean, I'm not seeing Joe. I don't know if anybody else can. If anybody can tweet or send me a text or something, but looks like a black screen on my end. But yeah, so they had to start off early by going inside, ended up super efficient on the inside. Brandon Garrison had a significantly better game than the first exhibition game. 12 points, 6 of 9 from the field. Got another 3-point shot up. That's what we want to see out of the big man. Joe, I'm not totally sure what we're supposed to do. I don't know if you can hear me. Yeah, I think maybe just keep trying to join if you can hear me. If y'all can't tell, it's my first day hosting, and I've done the steps that I've been taught, and the screen is black. So I don't know exactly what the problem is, but we're going to keep it rolling. Yeah. So Brandon Garrison was a highlight to me, maybe not the player of the game, but he stood out as someone who made a big improvement. He looked smooth in some of those post touches. The post hook specifically stood out to me as something that is something that can be effective going forward, because at all times you can have 4 shooters out there around him, right? With Creasa, Noah, Perry, Brea Jackson, all of the different guys. Carr as in your 4 spot. All of these guys can shoot. Ainsley. So Garrison and Amari are going to have a lot of room to operate. And I know we'll talk more about Amari and some of the things going on with his injury. He looked like a bump knee. From what I saw, it didn't look to be serious. He was back out on the bike throughout the game. So I think that was good. And I know Joe may have a little more insight when he's able to come on. I'm gonna send him the link again. But yeah, again, Basham39, Basham39 on Twitter. If you want to send me a question or anything, I'll put a post out for questions, comments, observations, people you maybe wanted to see more of. I think obviously someone that you have to start with is Jackson Robinson. If you're gonna start talking about some of the players that did well, 8 of 12 from three. The biggest thing I noticed from him is obviously 12 threes being just an absurd amount of. I mean, how many times in the Cal era do we have someone shoot 12 threes? Like Monk probably did maybe Quickly or Jamal Murray or somebody get to 12. They probably did, but 12 threes and only one shot that wasn't in the 3-point line. I'm going to turn Joe off here. Copy this invite link. That's not what I wanted to do. Sorry about this. We're trying to produce live on radio. Had some class this morning, and getting back in a little late is making this a little bit more of a rush than I would have liked for the first time hosting in our third show. But I'm having a good time. Jackson Robinson, 13 shots, 12 of them from three, hit 8 of them. I mean, 24 minutes, 24 points, 6 rebounds out of a guard wing type player, someone who's not known for maybe getting inside and getting involved, being more physical. It seems like that's something that he's really trying to work on a little bit more. I know Pope was challenging their offensive rebounding throughout the game. Andrew Carr again, 5 of 7 from the field. I mean, they went inside. They got very aggressive trying to attack the paint. We talked in the pregame show, me and Paul, how Minnesota State just doesn't have a lot of size, and a lot of their size is young, outside of maybe one or two guys. And it definitely seemed like they were trying to attack the paint more and trying to get some of these guys in foul trouble. And it almost worked the opposite way, right? We Carr ended up in foul trouble. I believe it was Carr. Yeah, Carr ended up in foul trouble. Amari Williams obviously going out early on in the game put Kentucky in a bad spot overall. I mean, they had some of the guards playing center. It seemed like Ortega was playing a little bit of 5 at some points, at least defensively. It seemed like Braham even got a possession or two at the 5 defensively, which was not something that I would have expected to see. But very quickly, the front court depth got tested, and we found out that Pope is not afraid to go small at all. He's not afraid to try out some different things and to try to go all in on offense, making it so that other teams have to try to compete with 3s instead of 2s. And I think that that's one of the strengths of Mark Pope's team, is that no matter what, he seems to be fluid and flexible with his system, the same way that every decision point is fluid and flexible. For some of the players, it's the same way for him. He's coaching it as if every possession is a different game, almost, is what it seems like to me. You're seeing a lot of times, like I said, Minnesota State took away the 3 because we shot so amazing against Wesleyan. A lot of teams are going to try to take away the 3. And when you only have 1 or 2 shooters, you can take away the 3. You can take away the Kellen Grady of the team. You can take away the Ty Washington of the team and make other people beat you. But against this team, you can't, because there's 4, and Brandon Garrison starts hitting some of these 3s he's taking. There's 5 shooters on the team or on the court. If you go small or you put Carr at the 5, you can start to get very versatile on offense while keeping a defensive pressure because of the guard play that you have. Lamont Butler, he didn't have as many steals last night, but let's see, Lamont Butler ended up with 3 steals. Well, maybe he did end up with 3 steals. Ortega also ended up with 3 steals. 15 steals as a team, that seems ridiculous. I don't really – that feels like a really high number. I don't think a lot of teams get that high very often. But yeah, Lamont Butler is really just dominating on the defensive end. He allows you to not need a rim protector because of the pressure that he puts on the ball. Oh, Joe has a camera this time when I see him. Joe, how are we doing? He's officially here.
Hi. My computer kept crashing, man. It wouldn't let me in. How you doing?
I know it kept putting you in here, but your camera wasn't turning on, so I didn't know what the problem was. But I'm glad you're here now. I don't know if you've been able to hear kind of what I've been talking about. I haven't been able to hear it all. All right. I've just been talking about really Brandon Garrison impressing me, being more physical on the inside, something that we didn't see the first game. I know we want to talk about Amari Williams' injury, and then I've been talking about kind of Jackson, Lamont, Ortega, just how fluid the guards look, the experience. and things like that. So if you want to kind of give your main takeaway from the game, kind of what you saw last night, what you thought was effective, maybe didn't work as well.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think the most impressive thing, I was kind of looking at the box score this morning. I watched the game again this morning. And what I noticed is a lot of our main guys that'll be playing a lot of minutes, so like Lamont Butler, we have Otega, like all of them, they only played around 20 minutes, like when it comes to game time. And so for example, Lamont Butler and Jackson Robinson, their plus minuses was 39 and like 41 collectively.
Yeah.
They only played around 20 minutes of action. Normally, they're going to be playing 32 probably minutes a game. So I think that was one thing that stood out. Some of the other people like Kobe Brea and Travis Perry, you might not want to look at their plus and minuses because we actually, when they were on the floor, we lost a lot of points. Travis Perry specifically, it was like -8 when he was on the floor. Some people don't look at that. Yeah. It's one thing I look at because normally if you're on the floor, you want good things to happen. So if you see somebody with a high negative, it normally means that the defense is able or the offense is able to score on them pretty easily. And so the plus minus is something I always like to look at.
Yeah, I typically like to look at players that get to like the 15-minute mark or so, because especially Travis, he plays 6 minutes and, they hit 3 threes and you go cold for a couple possessions. You can go 60, they can go 6 minutes and go -8, and then it was real quick. So I am with you on plus minus. I know a lot of people, especially on social media, have started saying that plus minus really doesn't matter. And I think that, with all analytics, as advanced analytics become more prevalent, you have to look at them understanding the context. Like it's not, there's no end all be all stat. But plus minus, 41 for Lamont Butler, 39 for Jackson Robinson. He led the team in minutes with 24. Those two and Otega were the only people that got to 20 minutes. Pope was rolling in the depth. I wanted to see if you had any insights or thoughts on Amari Williams and kind of where he's going for the future.
I sent a text this morning. Unfortunately, I have not heard back, which normally means that's not good. Because normally if I hear back, then they know exactly what's going on, and I'm starting to feel like maybe there's more to it than there is. I'm hopeful.
Pretty good though.
I know I was, because they said he was jumping around on the sideline, like on the back, and they were riding. He's on a bike and stuff. But I mean, I've tore my ACL, I've tore my MCL. So like when I tore my MCL, I was still able to jump around a little bit. So not saying that that's what happened. So don't go out there and say, oh no, it might be MCL or ACL, but it could just be like a strain or something. It might just need to take a couple of days off. He could have banged knees. Like I don't know specifically what happened. I even went back and was trying to find the exact moment, like where I think maybe it happened. I saw one moment I thought, but I just don't want to speculate until I hear more.
Yeah. People there said that they thought it was a knee bump. I didn't get to go to the game, but that's kind of the consensus that I had heard on social media. But obviously, we hope he's okay. And we saw the front court get tested with some of the guards. Some of the guards in the wings were getting down, playing some big man spots, at least on defense. I know that works against the Minnesota State, where they don't have very many tall people. They don't have dudes that are just towering over everybody like some of the SEC teams will play. But I was just kind of wondering what you saw from some of the guards trying to fit some new roles and just overall the impact you saw from some of the guards, especially Jackson Robinson hitting 8
for sure. Yeah, I think the one thing I liked was, you had Amari Williams get hurt, and then you had Andrew Carr get a second foul like right away, a little soon after that. And so it made Garrison come in and play a role that, hit earlier than he thought he was going to need to. And then you had Ansley that had to come in here and play additional minutes. They'll definitely see the floor a lot. I think Brandon Garrison has shown a lot. I mean, he impressed me a ton last night. And I've heard all offseason he's been impressed with everyone. The guard play, though, had to step up. And you're exactly right. I went back and saw some of the motions to how Jackson Robertson was getting so open. And a lot of the things that he was doing, he was actually setting a screen for other people. And then he was then turning around, coming off of the double screen to get himself open. So it was interesting. It was like a flex screen, and then he was coming off a double, and then he only needs 1 second to get a shot off. And last night, it was his night. 8 for 12 from threes is outstanding. 66%. That's just outrageous. Lamont Butler, he just showed like defensively like what he can do. I mean, he got multiple deflections along with Otava. Jackson Robinson got multiple deflections. Even Colin Chandler, although his box score like wouldn't tell you, he got multiple deflections, and he is a lot better passer than I knew he was because two of his dimes that he passed, amazing. I was like, how did he do that? I think the guard play is
he's
exactly
farther
what it is.
along after his 2 years off than I initially thought he would be. I don't know if he's still a super impact type of player, but he is contributing positively, and I think that's more than I personally expected coming off of 2 years with limited basketball and some of those things. But when you're a freak athlete, you're a freak athlete. So
yeah. So next year, like he'll be somebody next year that like for sure will be like one of the main guys. He'll contribute this year as well. You also had, I mean, Trent Noah even was able to come in. He, although struggles a little bit on defense, he held his own. He even was able to guard a couple bigger guys down low and held his own. So
yeah, he was almost playing 4 a little bit on defense. He's a thicker kind of guard wing. He seems like he can at least have a sturdy base, at least stand his ground a little bit if he gets switched, or some more of that versatility that we've been seeing from them on offense. I know he didn't have the best game, but it was good to see Kirk Kriisa get out there and finally get some game reps out there. No look pass, doing the flashy stuff, giving the energy, all the stuff that we expected. Got a 3 to fall. Did I see that he had the name Kerr on the back of his jersey? Was it just Kerr instead of Kriisa?
I think it was Kerr. I don't know. I can't recall it now.
He said that. I didn't get to watch because I don't have the SEC Network Plus or whatever they had. So I've just been listening and seeing highlights and stuff. And I haven't seen a picture of it, but I've seen a couple people talking about it, just saying Kerr on the back of his jersey. And I hadn't gotten a chance to actually look and see.
I really can't recall. I will say, text me offline. I'll help you with that where that don't happen to you again. I can make sure you get to watch the games. Because we definitely would rather you watch them than having to listen on the radio. Although Tom Leach is awesome to listen to. Yeah, I mean, he brought a good energy. I think obviously he hasn't been able to practice as much as these other guys because he was a little banged up. And so with stamina concerns and things like that, I mean, you're often going to see that. And so I would just say give it a few games. If it would have been a regular game like that counted, he probably wouldn't have played last night, just from what I was told. But it was where he could get his legs underneath him again. So I think it was good minutes for him.
I don't know if you've heard totally different, but just thinking through it, I wouldn't be especially like the game matters a little bit more. They'd even be more cautious with them on Monday. I know that's a long way to continue to recover, but I don't know. I could see them maybe limiting him a little bit, making sure he's ready to go for that Duke game. I don't know if you've heard different or not.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that for sure.
Yeah, I think it's kind of a similar thing with Kobe Brea, maybe a little fatigue getting back in. I know he had an injury that kept him out a little bit, trying to get back in the rhythm of shooting. Any injury where you get to sit back and you're not, up and running and getting all your shots up and playing in the rhythm of the offense and doing all the things will throw just a little bit of timing and rhythm off on some of those shots. But overall, I mean, started with a slow start and then absolute barrage at the end of the first half. I mean, that's the kind of thing that it seemed like this can be.
Yeah, starting 2 for 15 from threes. I know we were all texting like, holy cow, this isn't good. And then, boom, I mean, we finished it, I think, 9 for 16, and then we finished at 39% shoot. I mean, that's just outstanding. I think with Kobe Brea, he's not one that can create his own shot. I think he needs to just let the offense come to him a little more. And I saw last night that he was pressing a few times. And then, I mean, that's why he went 1 from 5. Yeah.
He reminds me a lot more of maybe Kellen Grady or first-year Antonio Reeves than a second-year Antonio Reeves, where he's kind of a spot up, find a spot in the offense. Now I think Pope is going to find a way to get him. The Kellen Grady, I'll go stand in my corner again. That always stuck with me. It's more fluid. It's more finding a spot instead of having a spot. But yeah, I think that's more effective. I mean, now that I'm thinking about it, I would have really liked to see both of those guys in Pope's offense. I feel like Reeves would have been awesome in the like Jackson
Oh
Robinson
my
role.
goodness.
That would have been
You,
so
you
fun.
imagine?
Now that I'm thinking about it, that would have been a lot of fun.
Holy cow, he would have loved that.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, Grady, what you said, that's a great comparison. I heard last night somebody was saying like Ortega reminded them of Kalina Azubuike, and I was like, holy cow, that's like a perfect comparison to him. Like he's able to get to wherever he wants to go, whenever he wants to go there, and he wasn't as bouncy, but just to see him like attack last night and get to where he wanted to go was awesome to see.
It just seems like it's so easy for him right now. And Jackson looks the same way, and Lamont plays with a little bit more pizzazz and fire. So Ortega is too, but like especially on offense, it's just Ortega's so open all the time. Like 7 of 8 from the field, 0 for 1 from 3, 7 for 7 from 2-pointers, a pull up mid range that looks smooth and easy. It looks like he's just like, oh, well, I guess I'll just run past this guy and shoot a layup. Like that's easy. Since everybody's going to stand on the 3-point line, I'll go shoot the layup. That's fine.
He's so fast off the dribble. I mean, he was just literally attacking whenever he wanted to. It's outstanding.
Casey had the tweet of him kind of doing putting his shoulder into somebody and bouncing off, and it's the cat boogie. One guy's fighting real hard, and the other guy's like not trying at all. Ortega's like, get off me a little bit, and the Minnesota State guy is flying off the screen. But yeah, he's just a mismatch problem because you have to stop Lamont from getting in the paint. Everyone knows what Jackson Robinson is, and Ortega is just going to get to, in the middle of a motion, drive past somebody and go try to dunk on your big man. Speaking of dunking on people, Brandon Garrison.
Holy cow! I was hoping
brutal.
I was hoping after he did that he did that little small sign or whatever everyone was doing there for a little bit. Holy cow!
I mean, that wasn't nice. That was not nice. Somebody should have called the cops.
Yeah,
that's a crime. I hope that Pope has pulled him aside and talked to him about the way we're treating people. I know Minnesota State's coach said that they were treated like royalty and stuff, and that's matters all of it. It matters for feeling good about things. It's better to be nice than to not. But Brandon Garrison was not nearly as nice to that man as Mark Pope was throughout the year or throughout the.
He was not. I mean, I watched the slow mo of that, and there's gonna be a nice poster that comes out. I guarantee you, if it's not already T-shirt made or something.
The UK men's basketball has 3 different angles of it, slow mode, all sorts of stuff. I've spent more time than I'd like to admit sitting there watching the angles of that video. I mean,
even Andrew Carr's dunk on the 2 people was impressive. I mean, he literally power dribbled back one spot and went straight up one-handed. Well, I mean, that was like, holy cow.
It's what we'd kind of been begging for a little bit in our chat on social media is like, Amari Williams, you are 5 inches taller than everybody else on the court, and you probably like you could throw the people if they just sat there and let you turn around and dunk on somebody. Like instead of shooting the layups and trying to get the finesse. And Carr went for a couple layups early on, and it seemed like Pope was like, just dunk on them. Like you are bigger than them. Be bigger than them. You're a unicorn for a reason. Dunk on them.
Yeah,
Carl almost doesn't even dunk. He just kind of reaches up and is able to dunk.
Yeah, it's nice. I'm definitely jealous. I used to be able to dunk. I can't dunk as well as I used to, but seeing him do that, I'm like, wow, I'm jealous.
I got a couple off. It's very embarrassing that at my size I can't dunk, but I used to get up there. I used to get up there a little bit, but not anymore. I was not born with the ability to jump very high. Thank you, my parents. They were not jumping high either. Any other kind of takeaways or anything that you had from last night or anything that you're excited to see moving forward, kind of as the season's ready to start?
Yeah, I think what I'm excited to see is how Pope distributes the minutes and keeps everybody satisfied. I mean, when you bring so many people in as transfers, you got to keep everybody wanting to do the best for what the team is. And, I don't know what was told to a lot of these, recruits when they were recruiting them, but it's tough to sit there on the bench if you're expecting to get 8 to 10 minutes. If you only get 4 or you don't get any at all, it can be tough to be motivated. So I'm hoping he's had conversations like what their role is this year. Maybe being my lights just went off. That's crazy. And being
It's
honest
like,
with
kind
them,
of scared me a little bit when everything
that
flashed
was
like that.
crazy, man. It's Halloween. I guess a ghost turned it off. That was nuts.
All sorts of spooky things are going on with the
I know,
technology.
man. That was crazy. So I'm hoping he's had those conversations so everyone knows where they stand. But I'm looking forward to the regular season to start now and seeing how much we raise that bar even more.
Yep.
Obviously, both these teams were qualified teams. I know Minnesota State won the D2 championship last year, but I want to see grown men, that are juniors and seniors for these D1 teams and see how our freshmen and our guys compete with that type of talent. Not only that, I hope to continue to see like what's being said on the recruiting platform as well. So like our offense is obviously out there now. So is it things that are exciting the recruits? Do they want to play for that type of style? So I'm hoping within the next couple of weeks I'll be able to start hearing those conversations, like from the 2026 recruits mainly. So that excites me as well. Obviously this is a huge week for us. I'm hoping we can land Acadian Lewis on Saturday. Or Sunday, whenever the second is. So I'm hoping that happens. I've been
You know,
told it is.
you felt good initially for Caden Lewis. How are we? Are we still feeling good? We're still thinking he's a
I feel
cat.
great. I think
Yeah.
it's already done deal.
The way those interviews are going, that I think his dad is posting. He seems to be saying a lot of good things about Kentucky. He doesn't seem to have a lot of negatives to say about the program. So that's definitely a
Yeah.
good sign. Obviously Caleb Wilson coming close to a commitment. You had some scoop for us on the football pregame show, kind of in the text line, but I was just kind of thinking, what's kind of your thoughts with Caleb Wilson and kind of what's kind of the timeline there, you think?
Yeah, so from what I understand, of course, he's already visited North Carolina. He's visiting Arkansas this weekend. I was told earlier, somebody texted me and said, hey, Ryan Lemon on KSR mentioned Caleb Wilson is a lean towards Arkansas. I'm not sure how that would happen when he hasn't even visited yet, and I know for sure that we're the leader. But if he gets to Arkansas, has a good visit, maybe the NIL is where he wants it to be and is substantially more than what Kentucky's is, then something could change. I was told that Arkansas was never an option, that Pope and along with the other coaches had advised take all your visits, make sure it's the right place for you. And Pope, of course, after the North Carolina, made sure he went and visited right away. I've been told that after the Arkansas visit, Pope plans to reach back out again to confirm some things. Acadian Lewis and Caleb Wilson's really close as well, so I think that also helps. So depending on if Lewis does commit to us this weekend, that obviously will help us. And then once Pope follows up next week with Wilson, I think he'll say, hey, let's go ahead and get this thing done. So more to come, but obviously KSR is a huge platform. And so if Ryan Lemon's hearing that, then it gives me the opportunity to reach back out and see what's changed on why he's hearing that Arkansas is leading. Yeah, so obviously something happened and I just haven't heard. So hopefully I'll have an update tonight around that. But I'm going to continue to stay confident on the Kentucky forefront.
That works. And are you getting to where you're getting close to needing to leave? I know you have to head out here soon at some point. Joe's asking to come in, or not Joe. Paul was asking to come in.
I'm 4 minutes late to a meeting, so I just didn't want to interrupt, but I can hop off. He can join, and I appreciate you having me and look forward to doing this again.
Yeah, sounds good. Appreciate you coming. It's Bleed Blue Joe on Twitter, right?
Yep, you got it.
Is there other platforms that people can reach you on?
Obviously, we have the Bleed Blue Network on Facebook. It'll probably say formerly known as BB and Wildcats. That was a platform I had before I partnered with Bleed Blue Network. So you can find me on that. Wildcats Joe 14 on Twitter. If the Bleed Blue Joe doesn't work, you'll see a picture of me and my wife on there. So yeah, definitely hit me up and feel free to reach out to me anytime. I love to get the questions. I love to answer them for you guys, and go Cats.
Go Cats. Appreciate it, Joe. Have a good one.
See you.
All right, that was Joe, our basketball insider here at Bleed Blue Network, giving us a kind of a breakdown of what he saw last night. A little bit of a recruiting hand again. Caden Lewis committing November 2nd. We're here, and it's good things for Kentucky. Caleb Wilson, not far behind. Good friends with Caden Lewis, another really talented player. Caleb Wilson would be the top ranked recruit in the class. Paul's here. How are we doing, Paul? How are we going? We've been talking basketball with Joe for a little bit.
Sweet. How's that going?
It was good. We talked about kind of just what we saw. He gave a little bit more of a recruiting update, some reassurance on a Caden Lewis.
Did you set the channels up? Because no one's watching this.
I have YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and X and Instagram going live on my screen.
All right, it's working. All right, never mind. I just can't see it.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, yeah. So obviously basketball game last night. We kind of talked about it through the first half of the show, but what were some of your takeaways and some of the things that you thought were important to see from last night?
Yeah, let me make sure everything's on the way I want it to go just real quick. All right, cool. Yeah, so last night was it was interesting. It was a tale of almost like two little mini games, right? Like the Amari. Oh shit. Amari goes out last night, right? And the team looks like we didn't know how to play basketball for a little while. And it was 22-20. I think everyone was getting a little bit nervous. Was kind of like this.
They had the ball with a shot to take the lead.
Yeah, this is not ideal. I think they had like one or two shots with the ball, and they took some threes and missed. And then all of a sudden, Kentucky goes on like a 38-3 run or something like that, right? And that's the end of that. I think we learned a couple things about the team yesterday. Is one thing I liked. Mark Pope didn't call timeout. He basically let the team just go. They were going to figure it out, right? They were not going to. He wasn't going to bail them out. He was going to let them figure it out, which I like.
Like he was practicing a situation where maybe if they don't have timeouts and something's happening, they can, or if they need to save a timeout for something, they can kind of play without having one. Yeah,
I agree with that. The other piece is that was very noticeable was this team could be down 15 points and you're 2 minutes away from being tied or taking the lead again. They can score in bunches. I think the thing that's worrying me a little bit, if we're going to, again, kind of look at it from that perspective, is I think on the defensive side of the ball, there's some breakdowns that you're starting to see a little bit with the team that, look, the thing is also defense can come, can improve. I didn't think that the whole team could go cold like that for the most part for stretches. Look, there is the aspect of if you play a really, really good team, that really gets up in your grill and you have a really cold night, like, can you keep coming back? Because we're going to have to see, right? We just don't know. There's so many unknowns and variables, but I think from the biggest positive side is that the team basically, can score in bunches. I mean, it can score for fun for stretches. Obviously, you didn't have a very good shoot. Well, say not very good 3-point shooting night, but obviously that's
ended up at 39% on
relative, right? It's relative considering it's 11% worse than what we shot the other night. Right. Obviously Jackson Robinson showed why we brought him because he can basically fill it up. I think Ortega is probably the X factor for this team, him and Lamont Butler, because I think those are the two guys that are big and athletic and physical and can go get buckets at the rim when we need it. I think Carr played really soft in the first little bit, and then he woke up and had that monster jam. Garrison also about ended somebody's life in the second half.
That was very rude.
So I think it's just a little bit more. Yeah, I think it's just a little bit more of them playing with some maybe a little bit more tenacity. Look, it is an exhibition game. No matter what happens, you're not going to have the same. Yeah. You're not going to have the same intensity as you're going to have when you're playing, especially when you're playing it not just for real, but a team like Duke. Yeah. So I think it's just finding that mix. And look, this is the biggest thing and reason why. And I said it last night when we did a post game space. This is why I say there needs to be a little bit of patience with this team because we're going to have some knocks and Pope's going to have to figure out who to go to and what the five is in certain situations. Like we can practice it all day long. We don't know. Yeah. And so that's where I think that where I've always said, and I'm going to stick on this and going to kind of harp on it, that I think this team I think this is a good team. Like, do not get me wrong. I think they might be way better come February, March than what we might see in November, December. But I just hope people, like, I started seeing comments last night with people starting to say some stuff, and I was just like, that's not what we want to see, right? So I just hope that in the end, the fan base gives Pope the time to get done what he needs to get done, because this fan base is not necessarily the most patient in the nation.
No, it's not. And I think that you made an important point about never being out of a game and kind of never being too far away from being back in a game, just because it's kind of with the football team. Auburn went up 2 scores. I was like,
game over. It felt over at 7. It felt over at 1 score.
It kind of did. You're kind of like, oh, can we get back to can we get to the end zone 2 more times?
Can we kick 3 more field? Can we get? Once it was like you couldn't kick 3 field goals to win the game, you're like, we're in trouble, guys.
Can we hold 3 times in a row consistently anymore? Well, we don't know. But but it's a completely different in basketball. We could be down.
Hopefully.
Yes. I would even say if we're down the same number, 14. I mean, you're 2 minutes away from being in the game. Like if you can get that, you can't rely on yourself getting that hot every game.
No. It's undoubtedly. I think undoubtedly it's going to happen at some point where they're going to get down by double digits, and you're going to see what happens from that. And I think there's going to be a segment of people that are going to start dreading and start talking and loathing. And I think there's going to be a segment of people that are going to be really excited because they're going to be like, man, in 3 minutes, this could be a different game. Also, I think it's going to be interesting to see how this team adjusts as adjustments make, right? Like this is the unknowns of things, right? So obviously we're going to come out, we're going to play, we're going to face some teams. And if we have success, the longer you go into the season, the more those teams are going to make adjustments to try and stop what you do well. How do you then adjust to do your second thing really well, right? And I don't think Kentucky has figured out. I think they know that they can shoot really well. I think they figured out last night they don't need to just run up the ball and run up the court and jack the shots up when they're going high low. Way better than when they're just trying to move around the perimeter. The high low was getting wide open shots all day. And I think it's what do they do? What happens when they're playing a top 15 team and that happens, right? And you don't have the athleticism necessarily to just be the superior team. What are you doing to go get buckets? How are you running, those plays? I think that's where Otega Owe and Lamont Butler come in really big there because they're physical, they're quick, they can get to the rim. I think Jackson Robinson has that capability. I just don't think we've seen it completely yet. Obviously, we haven't seen Amari down low. We really haven't seen a lot of post-ups. Garrison looks very athletic, but again, I think he looks very raw. So I think at the 5, maybe we're a little bit thin than what we thought it would be. I think Carr's gonna probably come good at some point, but I think there's going to be a little bit of an adjustment for him from the type of offense we're playing. So, look, and again, a lot of this is nitpicking, right? Like we're looking for things to talk about, but there's going to be growing pains. And I'm not going to be one of the ones that lose my head if Duke beats Kentucky. Like I'm not, I don't want that to happen. Do I think it's like
really good?
It's not even that. It's not even that. It's
they play together and it's continuity and.
Yeah, I mean, Duke. Look, I don't know. I guess the same thing with Duke. I mean, if you're just looking at pure raw talent, right? Versus, and that doesn't always win come March, right? Like that's the thing. That's why this team, I think, is built to make a run in March more so potentially than now. I'm not saying they don't come out and beat Duke like a bad stepchild either. I think a lot of it can happen. I just think we just don't know, right? And I'm not going to be the one that comes out and is like, Duke is going to get punched in the mouth because all you're doing is setting yourself up for a big fat failure.
Yeah.
And there's people even on our team that think that's going to happen. And I'm like, everyone's welcome to their opinion. But if it doesn't happen, you're going to feel real silly.
I mean, Mark Pope has said pretty much every time he's talked, he's like, we're not going to go undefeated. We're going to get beat. And they're going to have games where they start 2 of 12 and they finish 6 of 33. Like they're going to have a couple games this year where they just shoot bad and they lose. You're hoping it's not in the tournament, but that's what they're doing. They're playing a numbers game where that's going to happen a couple times, but the normal game is going to be like 37%.
But that's where they have to figure that out.
That's where a normal game.
But they got to figure that out because in March, that's where you get bit in the ass, right? They have to figure out how do we get to the right now. they're not shooting mid-range jump shots. They're getting layups, or they're getting
they
threes,
shot like
right?
3 in the 2 games.
Yeah, so that's fine, but you've got to find that little bit extra, so that way when you're in a tournament, when you've got to win that one-ass ugly game in a tournament where it doesn't look pretty and all that matters is zeros are on the clock and you were 1 point better than that team, that's the part where I think this team is the biggest area to improve on. When they need a bucket, who's the guy that's going to go get it? Everyone's probably going to say Jackson Robinson. I don't know if it's going to end up being him. I think if it's a 3, if it's a shot like that, yes. If it's going to get a bucket, I think Lamont Butler is going to be the guy.
I was thinking it may be Lamont Butler just because he might be the best person to have the ball in their hand, and kind of we're still going to, even if you're trying to make something, there's going to be some type of action on the back end that has a chance of getting open in case the guy's not able to break him down. So, Lamont with his hand making the decisions. I mean, we saw him hit a buzzer beater in the Final Four. I trust that guy to go make a shot to win it, to have the ball in his hands at the end of the game. So I think that you're right. Lamont may be one of the guys that they need to go to if they're coming down to the end. But also we saw that Minnesota State, it kind of looked like they were trying to take threes away a little bit more in the beginning and trying to make us play through the paint and play through the mid-range. And I was saying earlier, it's, when you have more than 1 or 2 shooters, when you have more than Kellen Grady or more than just Ty, and someone tries to run you off the 3-point line, it's a whole lot harder for them. But they found a little bit more success. They found a little success, Minnesota State did, trying to stop us from getting on the 3-point line.
5 seconds.
Yeah, and finally it showed me the inexperience and the lack of continuity, because they looked good against Wesleyan just running their normal stuff, just running the bays, like just almost going through the motions at some points. But against Minnesota State, they had to actually make an adjustment because Minnesota State was doing something specifically on defense.
And they had length. I mean, it's not like it's not like that. Yeah, they especially in the guard and their wings. I mean, obviously in their 4-5. I mean, not, but I mean, in their 1 through 3, you had 6'5", 6'6", 6'7". I mean, there's guys with good length there. And I think it posed the challenge. And I think Pope even talked about it in the post-game show, right, in his press conference. Like, that showed the thing that they wanted to see. They wanted to get pushed and they wanted to get challenged. And obviously, I think that's good. That's what this team needs. It's something that I think when we talked even about our schedule yesterday, I think the whole schedule in non-conference sets us up better for SEC play.
Yep.
It's just so. I think of all the teams Kentucky's had, even with Kentucky bringing in a bunch of freshmen, you knew what Cal was kind of going to do, right? Like, you could feel how a game flow was going if Kentucky was probably in trouble or not. Like, we knew that basically, for the last couple of years. I think this is going to be a thing where you're going to the fan base might have to really adjust, because you might be down 10 at times, and you could be 10 in games a lot, and because you come out and you do what you say, you shoot 2 of 12, and Kentucky just shoots, right? Like, they're not playing slow, and then all of a sudden it's 3 possessions, 3 threes, and it's a 1-point game in 90 seconds, and you're just like, this is great.
Rep arena's buzzing, and they're calling a timeout. The lights are turning on. They're doing all the. Yeah. All of a sudden, games can flip very quickly when you have an offense like ours.
I am worried about the defensive side.
Without Amari, you could see where the problems could come from.
They could kill us on a pick and roll type, on going, their own. What I'm talking about when they're going high low on that. I mean, that there is some ways there, and the big and what people often forget is how explosive big guys can be also in the SEC, where just because they don't average 10 points, 15 points a game, they can still kill you because they're big, physical, and athletic. And if there's a mismatch they can exploit, it's ugly.
If the 4 times throughout the game that you don't pick them on a pick and roll, he gets 4 dunks. Like, it's
momentum.
8 points, momentum. You have to guard it now. You get the guards out. Like,
we're gonna know what Kentucky's about though by the time we hit January and go into.
Yeah, they'll have run into some of these problems.
The problem. I mean, they're going to go through. Yeah. Look, I mean, Duke's going to be a good test. I mean, if this is a catch-22, right? Like, if Kentucky wins, let's say they win on a buzzer beater, everyone's going to be really happy, right? But let's say the 2 other things happen. Let's say Kentucky comes in and just punches them in the freaking mouth, right? Yeah. This fan base is going to think we're hanging a banner. If we lose by 20, it's going to be Mark Pope's the worst.
And Poe is gone. Hold on.
That was really weird. It just glitched out.
I just turned you back on and you're back.
Yep. I was here. It just glitched out. It was weird. I don't know where I jumped off, but anyway, it's hopefully it's a fun basketball season. I think it should be. I mean, I think this team can be very good. But it's a learning process, right? Like I think that's especially with fans. And look, fans are going to fan, right? Like you're going to have some people are going to still think Mark Pope's the worst hire in the world. You got still people are still pissed off that Cal's gone. You're going to have some people who thinks if we win a game by 10, we're winning the national championship. And I'm just trying to be in the middle. And it's not for me to play. It's just, being almost 40 years old, I know what it's like to get really hyped up for basketball season, think we might win a national championship, and just to get let down constantly. I know there's a new team, there's a new coach and all that, but I'd rather be cautious and happy than over the top and feel very sad.
I mean, odds are you're not going to win the national championship, just in general. Every team ever,
right?
Right. Like
yeah.
even 2012, odds are they weren't going to win the championship. Even when they got down to the tournament, odds are you're not going to win the championship.
I don't even think they were favored that year for the title.
They started.
It was North Carolina.
Number one. They didn't start at number one.
It was North Carolina and Ohio State were above us.
Like that, yeah, but it's some of the stuff with having expectations for exactly what they're going to do and every single game in a 30-something game season where there's 6 one-game, elimination games at the end of the season to decide like who's the best.
Don't let us start 20-0 or anything like that. I'm just going to tell you, don't let.
I think it's just important to, like you said, kind of stay in the middle. Obviously, I'm gonna overreact if Duke starts off the game 8-2. I'm gonna be like, well, this sucks. We're gonna get smoked. I hate this, but
yeah, I'm not gonna. I hate Duke.
But overall,
I don't think I'm gonna be like that. Like, I'm gonna be honest. I get way less mad about basketball than I do football.
I do too.
Mostly because I know that one game doesn't end your season. One game doesn't change any. Like, it sucks. Like the things that make me mad is like, Kentucky goes on the road and plays Mississippi State, and it's their one sellout of the year, and then Mississippi State might win or some, a team like that, yeah. And then they want to talk shit, and it's just like, bro, you can't even fill your stadium up for any other game. Like the next game, there's 17 people there. Like that's the thing that irritates me, and then a team comes in and they play dog, they're terrible, and then you just get like the Herculean effort. Like to me, like that makes me more mad, and I literally. When I see other fan bases talk like, and I'm like, do you know how embarrassing your program is that they can only play real good one game out of the entire season? Like, that's embarrassing. Like, good. Congratulations that you got to play a midseason Super Bowl and you now feel happy. I will let you know how the tournament is since you won't be going there.
I would much rather be the team traveling to the whiteouts and the fancy clothes and the fancy games and having the big sellouts than the team that is hosting the one sellout of the year. So
let's kind of talk about this then. Kentucky's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 games. All right, let's just go through them real quick. Let's just talk about the games before the new year. Wright State. Let's just quickly, win or loss?
Win.
Feel good. Bucknell.
Win.
Duke.
Loss.
I'm going to go loss there as well. Lipscomb.
Win.
I agree. Jackson State.
Win.
Yes. Western.
Win.
Yes. Georgia State.
Win.
Yes. Clemson.
I'm going to say win.
I'm going to go win there too because I don't think they're good. Gonzaga.
Loss.
I'm going to go win on that one because I think our style of play will frustrate Gonzaga.
The only reason I'm going loss is because we're going to Clemson on Tuesday, and then we have to go all the way to Seattle on Saturday for a 10 p.m. our time game.
Yeah,
not that I necessarily think we lose to Gonzaga.
I think the most dangerous game on the schedule, though, is Colgate in the first 11 games because it's sandwiched between Gonzaga, Louisville, and that long road trip.
Yes, it is sandwiched between the road trip and Louisville, and like Colgate we've seen them be very respectable and like make tournaments and stuff. But I more think that we lose one of Clemson, Gonzaga, and kind of go through into the new year, starting SEC play with Florida. I kind of think we have go in with 2 losses, either Clemson or Gonzaga. And I'll say that the second of the of the road trip is where they'll trip up, just because.
Okay.
I think they'll lose one of them. So I think
Colgate.
I still think they beat Colgate, but I think that I'm going to be very angry watching this game with like 8 minutes left.
Probably Louisville.
I think we win. I think they're a little overrated, even though I don't know about you, but I kind of like the coach a little.
Ohio State.
I think we win. I don't think they're great overall.
I agree. Brown win, right? So I think Kentucky starts the season 10-1. You've got them going 9-2.
Yeah,
for the first half.
And
I don't know why I feel super confident. I don't know why I feel super confident about Gonzaga. I just think because of how we play, Gonzaga doesn't want to play the style that we're going to play.
They don't want to run around with us.
Yeah, I don't think Clemson's that good. I'm just going to be honest with you. And also, let's be honest, going across country is not nearly as big of a deal as it was even 5 years ago. You're talking about a 4.5 hour flight, 5 hour flight on a chartered plane. These kids are going to sleep the whole time. It's 4 days in between. There's no class, I don't think, either. It's not going to be a big deal.
That's true, but I don't think any of it's December 3rd, so it's that first week back from Thanksgiving break so they just won't come back from Thanksgiving break, basically. But crap, I completely blanked.
I'm not worried. I don't think the travel plays into it.
Yeah, the travel. I don't think a football team that's traveled more than 2 time zones has won a game yet this year.
Yeah, they have. Penn State.
Okay, so that finally did happen. But it was
Oregon beat Purdue. Oregon beat Purdue.
Yeah, so it took till last week, but it's
it's been several weeks now. It's been several weeks. There's been several games.
2-15 or something. It's
no, it's more now. It is more now. It's more now. Pitt beat Cal. Miami beat Cal. You've got obviously Penn State beat USC. You got
it's not easy.
Oregon. But also football's a little bit different because you're talking about a different recovery time and then having to go on a plane. You're having to leave an extra day, so you get a day less of recovery and everything. So it's a little different, I think, from a football perspective than a basketball perspective, where you don't need I'm not saying guys don't need recovery, but it's not you're not getting hit by 300-pound guys, right? It's different. And it's a lot easier, with the travel, with the type of plane you can get. It's a lot easier from that perspective. It's a lot easier to spread out. I'm less worried about that. I'm just going to be honest with you. I don't think Clemson's going to be that good. And I think Gonzaga, we play a style that's going to be there. I'm going to say Kentucky goes 10-1 to start the season and is probably somewhere in the top 10 by the time we hit SEC play.
I know for those that have been on since the beginning, Joe's bold prediction for the season is starting the season 17-0. I don't know how far down that gets you, but that's his bold prediction.
11, 12, 13, 14,
to start the year.
17. That would be our first loss would be in Knoxville. I'd rather not do that and beat Tennessee. There's plenty of if we lose Texas A&M or Mississippi State or Georgia, I don't want it, but there's teams I'd rather lose to than not, and Tennessee's one I never want to lose to.
I believe every team that's not named Louisville, I would rather lose to than Tennessee.
Oh, in the SEC,
even maybe Louisville.
There's a lot of teams in the SEC. I don't like Tennessee. Obviously, Arkansas, we've got this with now.
Okay, I forgot about it. Yeah, okay, Arkansas first, and then maybe Tennessee.
Alabama,
on games that I don't want to lose to.
Alabama, I think the 3 teams really this year is Alabama, Arkansas, and Tennessee. Look, I get it. I think people hate Duke. I just don't know if the hate for Duke is what it used to be.
It's not the same without K.
I agree. It's not the same thing without K or Cal. I don't like Duke. Don't get me wrong. I'm probably going to regret saying these words when I watch it. I'm like, God, I hate them so much. I don't know. I don't. Yeah. Can they go 17-0?
They could. If they're really good. Yeah.
If they got, they could. It's to get to 17-0, that also means you've beat Florida, Georgia, Mississippi State, A&M, and Alabama and Vandy.
This was also his bold prediction, but it's just I was just kind of throwing that out there on how the.
I'm gonna tell you what I don't want to necessarily be 19-0 rolling into that Arkansas game because I'd really be nervous.
Oh my gosh, that would be.
You imagine if we went 30-1, but that one was to fucking Cal, like that would be so bad. Unless we won the title, and then it wouldn't matter.
Oh, I know, but we'd have that like Indiana thing. Even though we beat them, even though we won the championship, they don't care.
The fact that they still play that video,
I know, but Arkansas
is the dumbest thing. The dumbest thing. Like, why don't you go show the highlight of when we beat you?
They don't have this. The file got
by 12 points in the Sweet 16, and Anthony Davis played 9 freaking minutes. 9 minutes. He was in foul trouble the whole time, and then obviously came back to the Elite Eight and blew the doors open because I was at both games. But let's be honest, that's not how. Like, I was there, guys.
It's my favorite to bring up because everybody's like, Indiana sucks. Like, what dude, why do they still do that? Because they still suck.
It was so funny too because Anthony Davis lost that game for us. I mean, he shot so bad from the free throw line, and then obviously his shot just became unbelievable right later in the season.
Yeah,
and he was shooting really well from the free throw line. But that game was like his second was like I don't know. It was early in the season, and I mean the fact that they wrote a book about it. I mean, they wrote a book about it. I mean, that's got to be one of the top 5 most embarrassing college basketball moments in history, I think.
And that's in a win. How did you find a way to be that embarrassing in a win? It's like one of the greatest moments. How have you found a way to make that a bad?
Yeah, hang the fucking banner for winning the game in November. I mean, Jesus. And then they cut the nets down for splitting a regular season title. Like it's
Indiana.
Like free content. Like how do you give us free content like that?
Yeah, thank you for allowing me to retweet this and call you not.
Yeah, well, now their football team can shove it up our ass that they're 8-0 though.
Yeah, so. I know that really sucks. I really hate.
I don't hate. Like I'm gonna put it. I don't hate teams in football that I hate in basketball, and kind of vice versa. I don't hate Duke in football like I hate Duke in basketball. I hate Tennessee and everything.
I think it's a toned down version for some of the teams that were one sport rivals in. Like Duke football. I'd rather them not win if I don't have another.
I mean, I enjoyed when they beat Florida State, so that was fun.
Well, yeah, if it's Florida State, if it's Clemson, if it's Louisville in football, I'm like, Duke can win. But like, if it's just Duke versus Boston College, I'm like, I mean, I'd rather Duke fans not be happy. Like that.
I think Louisville and Tennessee are the 2 teams, and Florida,
yeah,
that I absolutely despise in both sports.
Honestly, in every sport, if I just see, like I saw we were playing them in men's soccer, Tennessee. We played them in both soccers, and I was like,
and the women won 4-0.
They did. I was like, you know what? I hate Tennessee. Like
I hate it when Kentucky plays. Don't get me wrong. This is a Kentucky. If Kentucky's playing, that doesn't count. But like if Texas A&M plays LSU, I'm not mad if Texas A&M wins, right?
I don't have thoughts really either way.
Yeah, if Arkansas plays Mississippi State in football, I'm not going, man, I hope Mississippi State wins, right? Yeah. Like, I don't care as much from that. But it's like if Duke's playing Syracuse, I don't care who wins that game. Or Duke's playing North Carolina in football, I don't care who wins. I got no dog in that fight. It's a completely different sport. I don't care as much. But I will actively root against Florida and Tennessee, and Louisville, and literally like it could be cockroach racing, and I would root against them. I
would like to see the Tennessee Louisville Duke cockroach race. I feel like which school wins the cockroach race? Which school brings the best cockroach?
You're winning, so you don't get stomped. I mean, I don't know.
I feel like Tennessee people know what they're doing with cockroach.
It's like Wednesday now. Are you feeling any more confident about football?
I feel absolutely no confidence towards football, if I'm going to be the most honest with you. It's just we'll get the first availability report tonight, and I'm interested to see where JJ and De'Eric and DJ Waller are all listed. Dion and Keyshawn. I'm interested to see where the defense is listed. They didn't.
Let me ask you this question: would you be more surprised if Kentucky won the game or lost by 50?
I would be more surprised if they lost by 50 because
I agree.
The glimmer of hope and the reason that you have to be optimistic a little bit
Tennessee can't play
Tennessee's
offense
is not that good. Now, does it seem to kill us in our scheme every year? Yes.
Well, but it's been good though.
struggling?
I mean, even with it's not been like this is probably the most maligned offense I think Tennessee's had. I mean, obviously when Milton
it's
played,
easily the worst since
it
Heupel
wasn't as
kinda got
good.
things, you know.
But Milton was more of a turnover machine. But it's never been Hendon Hooker good. I think I don't know, man. I mean, I'm gonna watch the game. You know, I don't know. I don't know if you guys are gonna come over and watch the game, and you know, maybe we set up the TV outside and have some drinks or something, and maybe have some burgers and just hang out. And I don't know. I don't know what we're gonna do, but I think it's we're gonna watch, right? If nothing else,
of course we're gonna watch.
I mean,
and at kickoff, I'm gonna think we're winning, and I'm gonna be real mad when something happens.
I'm gonna be pissed.
Second down of the first drive, I'm gonna be mad when we get a rush for like 2 yards instead of 4.
You know what I found myself though at the Auburn game, and I don't want to say that. Look, there was a lot of other things going on with, you know, obviously you guys know, like someone we sit with, and there was a loss there, and it was more. We were spending a lot of time together talking, right? And I mean, it was fun to watch, but you know. Once we weren't playing well, it was more talking and enjoying that than anything. I don't want to become indifferent. Like I want to see, like even if we lose, just go play hard, right? Like go give us some. Look, the only chance Kentucky has to make it a bowl now, you got to beat Texas, or you got to beat Tennessee. Like that's not necessarily fun. But I mean, look, I crazier shit has happened. I mean, let me put it this way. Let me ask this question. If Kentucky were to beat Tennessee this weekend, Murray State and Louisville go 6-6, do you think the fan base chills a little bit? Or do you think they're as mad? Or do you think winning 3 out of 4 and going to a bowl game, and then let's say they win the bowl, that takes some sting out of everything?
I think if you had asked me in a vacuum straight up, they win 3 of 4 to finish the season, get to 6, go to a bowl with this team, a bunch of people go to the draft and leave, I'd be like, eh. But it's Tennessee and Louisville are 2 of the 3. So there's a little bit of like, if
they won,
bad.
If Kentucky were to win this game, Kentucky will have won 3 straight against top 10 teams on the road.
And they're 2-11.
Just let that sink in. If that does happen, if it was to happen, here's the really crazy thing. If Kentucky wins, you're looking at Texas going, is this team just a road dog right now? Like, do you go to Texas? Like,
all of a sudden you had to get nervous.
I mean, look, I'm not, I think Kentucky can win either game. I mean, Kentucky, I think, has been in every game, every game they've been in, except South Carolina, they were winning in until late, and they just folded. There's not been a game, and Florida was kind of like that, right? Like Florida was close, and then it just at the end it kind of got away.
Yeah.
But every game's been winnable for Kentucky. It wouldn't shock me if they beat Texas or Tennessee, but it wouldn't shock me if they got beat. Like I think if they lost by 50, that would shock the shit out of me in any game.
Yeah,
I think if they went on the road and lost by like 17 to either team, I'd be like, all right, well, that's probably about normal. I still don't think they should lose to fucking Louisville. I mean, you know,
I still think, but I was gonna say I still think they're better than Louisville, but I still think they're better than like 4 teams that they've lost to this season. Like if you made me pick Auburn, Kentucky today, just on like
the biggest thing is though the biggest
again, I'd still pick Kentucky.
Dude, the biggest thing is Kentucky is Louisville has gotten Kentucky's best punch for 12 years. Even when they weren't good, they got Kentucky's best punch. They're gonna get Kentucky's best punch. They like the one thing that Mark Stoops has done, he's never had to get this Kentucky team up to play Louisville. Even games when even when Louisville's been better, we've never had to get them up.
They've been ready to throw trash cans off their heads. They're ready to fight against Louisville, no matter what. They're ready to fight.
Oh, I mean, there's going to be a brawl. Like Louisville's going to come in and talk a lot of shit. I mean, I don't think. I mean, they're not that good. I mean, I don't think that they're. I honestly think their record's not much better than ours. If you put them in our schedule, I think it might be worse.
Trying to compare them to like last year's Louisville, the quarterback is better. The shock or show.
Their running game's not as good, but the running game's not as good. Their offensive line,
The defense is not nearly as havoc creating as last year's. They're not getting nearly as many sacks and turnovers and stuff as last year. But the quarterback is better.
Well, also their schedule's a lot harder too. Like they're actually playing decent teams. Like even the Miami game where it was kind of like a shootout, Miami decided to kind of pretend like they didn't want to play, and they're just like, here's 17 points in the third quarter, and then just kick their ass again in the fourth. Like that could have been a 20-point game, and it wasn't. But that's Miami specialty, except, they did it to Florida State at least this week. But
yeah, so going back to your question, I think if they were to beat Tennessee and Louisville, finish 6-6, make it to a bowl game, I don't know if it totally even matters whether you win or lose the bowl game, because I don't know how many people will play in it, to be honest.
Does it take the sting out, though, of
it makes it so that I don't think Twitter will spend the whole offseason like asking to fire him or like actively rooting for him to, like, I think it would buy him a year. It would be like, okay, fine, we're mad at you, but you beat Tennessee and Louisville, so you get one more chance.
I think there's two things.
One more year.
I think there's two things that can happen. I think even if I think Louisville's the game, like, you kind of have to win, though. Like, you got to win that game.
Just because you have to hold it over them in in-state recruiting.
Yeah, I mean, if you go 1-3 down the stretch, it's gonna be. If you go 2-2, finish the season 5-7, and then it's all about, can you go make some big splashes in the transfer portal? Then I think I think the temperature is really hot. I think if they beat Louisville, it comes down a little. It's still hot, but then obviously
you go into the season on the hot seat, but.
It's not going to be on the hot seat. There's nothing
when I say hot seat, I mean like you can't do anything. There is no actual hot seat for him from UK. But I mean, like, from the fans' perspective of like being like done, kind of the way
if he was going to leave too. If he was going to leave,
yeah,
I really hope we beat Tennessee and Louisville, and then he's like, I'm going to, and he walks away and goes somewhere else. At least he tipped the cap, going, I'm leaving, and I beat the two big dogs in the arena that you hate.
It's kind of like last year, where I know a lot of people were frustrated and not upset to see some of the news about A&M, and then they beat Louisville, and everybody was so excited and happy. And from some of the reports, it feels like that may have been an influence on some of the opinions on going to A&M or not. Some of the joy and the happiness that happened from that game.
I think that was all NIL. I don't think he was ever. I think that was all frustration with Kentucky, more so than him wanting to go to.
But you saw last year how beating Louisville can just kind of put out the fight. There was a little bit of, some of the people that were ready for him to go before the Louisville game weren't ready for him to go after, because of how much fun that was. And I think that there would be a little bit of the same thing of like, we want you to go now, but then he beats Tennessee and Louisville, and you're like, whoa, but
I don't think that will. I don't think that's anything now. I think if it goes into the Louisville game and they're saying that if let's say Kirk Ferentz comes out and says, this is my last game coaching Iowa, I'm retiring, which there's rumblings, maybe it might be. I think that's where your clock goes in, because I think that would actually be where, I think that's probably the one place he would go, and the one place that they would take him, because I think obviously he played there, he's an alumni. I think it's a different strategy. I don't think Florida State would take it.
I don't think so.
It'd be kind of really funny if he went to Florida. I don't think that would ever happen. I don't know. I mean, I also can see him. I can see him just saying, I don't like this new landscape of college football, and walking away too.
Retiring early, kind of like his family did, right?
I can see a lot
as long as most people do.
I can see there's a lot. I can see him being here, and I can see other avenues. I just don't know. I think there's so many variables, and you know this, right? Like, the next 4 weeks are going to change a lot of his mind on things. It's going to change, and that's ultimately the mind that matters, right? Like, it's his. But a lot of those things are going to come into play, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens. And I mean, look, he's here if he wants to be, and I hope that he's successful. But the what ifs and the instability is interesting.
It's more just fun to talk about and just kind of play that game, So I don't know how much more you have to comment. I was gonna kind of get some last takes on basketball and maybe start wrapping things up. Unless you have something more to kind of comment on.
No.
All right. So I was just wondering what kind of your last takes on. Sorry about that. Your last takes on the exhibition games and kind of where you think the direction of the basketball season and where you think it's going to go as we start the actual season here next week.
Just play ball. It's ready for it to count. Ready to start seeing how this team's really going to be. Just I probably have. I have expectations, but they're tempered. I think this team could win a national title. I think this team could not be very good. I think it's, I think this team's probably going to be pretty good. Yeah. If they weren't as good as I thought, it wouldn't shock me. If they were way better than I thought, it wouldn't shock me. I'm just kind of going into this with an open mind, knowing that this is a whole new ball game. And honestly, I'm just ready to kind of see that. And I'm ready for football season to have closure. I'm ready for football.
They need some kind of send off, some kind of positive end to just kind of.
Well, I think, and closure by mean this, Stoops either needs to just come out and say, "This is I'm going to leave," or just come out and say he's coming back. And do that before Louisville potentially.
I think the problem is he may just not know. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
he may just be sitting there waiting to see if Kirk Ferentz is going to retire. He may be waiting to see if some other job is going to. And he may get offered a job at a ACC school that, if he. I don't. Well, that's just what I'm saying. I was just saying ACC in general, a job at just some random. Somebody may throw him an offer just to see what happens, and he may decide that it's kind of the way to. I mean, nobody expected. If you told me Arkansas is going to come hire John Calipari at the end of the offseason, I'd have been like, no, they're not. Why would they do that? Why would Cal go there? And then it happens. So I don't think it's crazy that someone random could just be like, well, they don't like Mark Stoops. Could we pay him a couple of millions less and just have him be like an easy coaching hire, get in the transfer portal, things like that? I could see it happening, but all in all, I expect Coach to be the Stoops at UK, or I expect Stoops to be the coach at UK next year. To be honest, I don't know if you feel differently, but that's where I'm at.
So Feinbaum put something out actually today. Following a slow start to the 2024 college football season, a caller on the Paul Feinbaum show asked the SEC Network analyst if Mark Stoops is considering leaving Kentucky after this season. Feinbaum commented that Stoops is likely thinking about it after a dumpster fire of a season. He probably is thinking that right now. Feinbaum said he has had steadfast support from Dr. Caputo and Mitch Barnhart, but right now this is a complete dumpster fire of a season. So did
that sound like anything of note or new to you? It kind of sounded like the same position we've taken of this really sucks, but
I mean, it's all over the internet right now. I mean,
that he's maybe thinking about, but it didn't sound like he was talking from a space of knowing something. It sounded like he was just like, yeah, I would be
pretty connected. I mean,
yeah. Oh yeah.
Hang on, there's another quote.
I'm sure the way he says it sounds different than the way it's listened to, from somebody else reading it. But it almost sounded like if I was in his position, I would be thinking about leaving, kind of thing, more than maybe Stoops has told me he's thinking about leaving. But Feinbaum's a pro, and he could totally frame it that way with Stoops having told him.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe he might know it from the through grapevine. I mean, I don't disagree. I mean, but this was literally 14 minutes ago.
Yeah.
So,
and I would think
interesting.
Probably continue to get more updates from Feinbaum in that kind of area. But I mean, obviously, I would as well think about. I would think about it. I would see what's available. Just because I honestly, if I was a coach, I'd probably always do that unless I was at Alabama. Just always see what the options are and kind of what is available. Keep your name in searches, things like that. But I don't know. I'm excited to see the basketball season start. You seem like you're hard at research. Is there one more fact for us?
I'm just looking it's just there's a few things. So look, sometimes I've been kind of waiting to see, and this is where I'm actually gonna get on the phone with some people after we get off and see what I can find. But this is interesting. It's interesting because is this the pre-smoke to the smoke?
As it starts to grow a little bit, when the national guys start kind of mentioning that maybe he's looking and stuff like that's kind of
there's got to be Feinbaum's not someone that usually talks out of his ass. I don't always agree with his takes, but he usually won't talk out of his ass from that perspective. And so you wonder if there's been if something's been floated. And so it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting.
I would say that Feinbaum's conversations are probably not the first time he's had these conversations, right? He's probably at minimum talked to some of his like SEC Nation co-hosts and like ran the could Stoops think about leaving? Like, is there spots that he could think of going? And they've probably been like, yeah, somebody has probably heard he's thinking about leaving. Like, there's probably some type of connection somewhere with something for that group. So it's interesting, but he's the coach here, and they still have to go play a top 10 team in one of the 5 biggest stadiums in the country next weekend. Mm-hmm. So, you gotta win. If you don't win the games, then it matters a whole lot less whether he's here or not. But yeah, so going into basketball, first game's on Monday. Looks good in the exhibitions. I've enjoyed seeing the new system, kind of some of the flexibility that it offers. Some of the flexibility that happened when the bigs got in some foul trouble, but overall, it's just it's time to get real games going. We've hit the Wednesday slump now. 2 sports will help, but I wish maybe there was a game tonight or something. All right. Do you have anything else you?
No, man, that's it. I'm gonna make some calls and see if this is just someone talking or if there's actually anything there.
Sounds good. Stay tuned to Twitter for that. I'm sure some nuggets or some hints.
Yeah, I just threw it out there. I just threw the quote out on Twitter. So, but I'm gonna ask some people, see what I can find out.
All right. Sounds good.
Appreciate it, guys.
Thank you everybody for watching, and we'll be back tomorrow at 1:00 again.
Sounds good.
See you,
Bye.
Thanks for joining us on another episode of the Bleed Blue Network podcast. We hope you enjoyed diving deep into the world of Kentucky sports with us. Don't forget to stay connected by following us on Twitter at BleedBNation. Your feedback means the world to us. So take a moment to leave a review. Not only does it help us improve, but it also helps others discover the show. Until next time, keep cheering, keep listening, and keep bleeding blue.